Welcome back to Morning Live, and as I told you earlier before we took a break, we want to talk about the cabinet reshuffle, the mini that happened recently, and of course casualties, a few casualties, and of course now new characters given new responsibilities. Magoha has been now given the responsibility to run the Ministry of Education, and now Amina Mohammed has been given the responsibility to handle the Sports Ministry, and Echesa has been shown the door. So much political talks going around this move, and in studio I'm joined by Mr. Munga himself from NAT Communications team, and of course Bwana Mark Bichachi, who will be taking us through all this happening. Mark Bichachi and Bwana Munga, karibuni sana.
Asante sana.
Now, the political rhetorics, left, right, center coming in from now what happened recently, especially now DP Ruto, also a very prime candidate for the 2022 elections. Echesa, his man, removed. People are saying this political move is actually just preparing, trying to frustrate him in one way or another. Of course, Magoha will talk about it also in education, but first to you, Bwana Mark, what's happening now?
Well, I think Kenyans have the proclivity to politicize everything and to simply ignore the facts so that they can fit whatever narrative there is to a story that fits their bill. Let's be very clear. The name Rashid Echesa is not a name you close your eyes and you think excellence in football or excellence in running. It is not a name where if it is mentioned you feel goosebumps because you know the rugby team is going to win. It is a name that has become synonymous with the rumors and innuendo of belly dancers being brought into the country under the signature of Echesa. It has rumors of people who conned a businessman off of 10 million shillings. His name is also evoked. There is gold and fake currency found somewhere in a house in Westlands, and his name is evoked. If you were the president, what other choice do you have? Number two, how do people assume that for the deputy president, Rashid Echesa in the docket of sports and his performance there was a useful campaign tool? What exactly was Rashid Echesa doing? What exactly spectacular thing was he doing that is such an asset to the deputy president? I think people who are even making that connection are quite short-sighted, because that is not someone you want to be associated with in the long run. You know, this is someone who, even despite being elected, appointed CS, was busy having running battles in Western every other weekend with the senator Washialis to just bolster his name. So my question to my fellow Kenyans is, surely, if someone like Rashid Echesa, the president, cannot fire without political consequence, who can he fire? If he touches anybody, you will all complain. Let's be clear. And let me, before people get into the Luya card, he's not the only Luya. So when Luyas get fired, let's stop saying it's a village that has gotten fired, a tribe that has gotten fired. There are very many Luyas in cabinet still. So let's not make it a tribal thing, because that's the other nonsense we like to get into. That we try and say, okay, where did he come from? So if Switch TV fires you, have they fired your tribe?
Anyway.
Of course, Mark Bichachi has given his view. But Richard Echesa, is it Rashid? Sorry, Rashid Echesa is was the youth leader, national youth leader for ODM.
Yeah.
He's not just nobody. It's not just somebody who has just come from nowhere to be where he is. He was vetted. He went before Parliament, a parliamentary vetting committee. He was selected from very many people to become a cabinet minister, a CS. That's not a small achievement. Not everybody does that. Not everybody gets that kind of position. So when a person like that gets that kind of position, then surely we have to look and see, who is this? Where has he come from? There's a lot of talk about his education background and many other things. But also those talks were dismissed by some of us. We dismissed them and said that if you look at the constitution of this country, for a minister or for a CS, you only need to be born. And you qualify, and if you have the right age. The issues about papers was not part of it. If we talk about rumors around people, then everybody in this country has rumors. People have skeletons. I don't know of anybody in any cabinet in this country, in any office, who can claim that he is clean. Let the clean person be the first one to throw a stone. If I know all the people I know in this country, be they senators, be they cabinet secretaries, be they members of parliament, they have issues. And there are issues that are big. In fact, Echesa is a small, to be rumored to have gold. That is nothing.
Small fish.
We have people who have, we have read and heard about them stealing billions of this country. We have people who we have heard in their dockets. Many things have happened. If talk about performance, oh my God. We have so many cabinet secretaries who score nothing. Better even Echesa, whom we don't even remember their names. In fact, Echesa, at least we know his name. There are many we don't even remember. In my class, my children in standard 5 know the name Echesa. But I can assure you, standard 5 kids don't know some names in that cabinet. The truth of the matter is this. Echesa may have done wrong. The appointing authority has every right and doesn't need to explain to us why he has fired or hired. However, let it be very clear that when you do such a move, when you hire, it's a political move. When you also fire, political temperatures also rise.
Now, the issue of Magoha coming also in the picture, because now Amina Mohammed, because of all, I know you have to talk about something, yes, Bwana Mark, but now Magoha being given that docket, education docket, because he's someone who's been, as the caller, key one, who's been in that docket for quite some time. There's so much expectation from him. Do you think he's one of the guys who will save that sector?
Let me first address the issue of he's the lesser of two evils. The other CSs are equally bad, and that may well be the case. In fact, for me, I think the president has very many reasons to fire very many of his CSs. But I have learned something about cleaning a house. When you walk into a house that is very dirty, you start cleaning from where you stand. You don't start cleaning from whichever place you think is farthest, because even accessing that place is difficult. So the president has started cleaning. We all agree that Echesa's performance was not sterling. So as such, if he started with Echesa, then the only reaction we can give him, which I agree with, is follow through. Follow through. That's a key issue. I think this particular reshuffle was too little, too late, and he needs to do a lot more if we are going to take the fight against corruption and his cleanup of his own cabinet seriously. That one is the truth. So let's not try and defend Echesa because saying that, oh, why didn't he get rid of all of them? Even when you're slaughtering pigs, you cannot slaughter 30 at the same time. You start with one. So he slaughtered the first one. Let's hope the other 10 will follow shortly. Number two, Magoha. The appointment of Magoha is welcome for a simple reason, that he is seen as a performer and a reformer in his previous role, in his previous roles, both at the university and at the National Examination Council. Now, the key question is, will he be able to handle the policy level of things? Because he's been a technocrat. He's been the one turning the wires and tuning the pegs. Will he be able to be the one who tells the peg tuners how to play and how to tune that particular instrument? That's the question. And let's be very clear. Sometimes people do not necessarily translate effectively on appointment. So I would say I am cautiously optimistic. I'm excited because he's got an excellent CV. I'm excited because he has an excellent track record. But I'm cautiously optimistic because, my friend, in that cabinet, how many PhDs do we have? So anyway, it's not a matter. You understand what I mean? So for me, I am rooting for him. I'm hoping that he performs. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
That's true.
Let's take a short break now. When we come back, this conversation continues right in studio, and the scrutiny now is on the education sector, because now as it is, it's messed up. All that after a short break. All right, welcome back to Morning Live, and in studio discussing about so many issues affecting our society. Now it's all about the cabinet secretaries, and Mr. Magoha, the professor actually, was given the education mandate You're here, Mr. Amunga, and I know that's your sector, and there's so much expectation.
Yeah.
NIMBYs, 100% transition.
Yes.
What else? We have
New
the issue of curriculum.
Yeah.
It's just messed up.
Yeah.
70% of schools haven't even started handling the new curriculum. So as it is, we're having a problem in terms of our learning institutions. Overcrowded schools, boarding. Someone set himself on fire because of poor living conditions in a dormitory the other day. That means also the welfare of the students are not also catered for. Now, Professor Magoha is in the picture. How will he fare in this docket? What do you think?
Magoha has been hyped. Whenever I watch soccer, I love soccer. Whenever a player is overhyped and given all the praises, many times that player fails to deliver. Pogba did not deliver. Sanchez did not deliver. For the first season, actually, he has not even delivered. And the millions that he was brought in, and everybody talked about Sanchez. So I want to say this. Hyping Professor Magoha has been his biggest undoing. And I'm worried. I'm worried about the education sector in this country. Why Amina had to go or left, obviously, was because of the new curriculum.
Yeah.
Her flip-flopping about it. And the president had to apologize, actually, himself, and say that, I'm sorry, I apologize to the country that my minister had to, you know, kind of double speak about this issue about the new curriculum. The new curriculum is a political thing. It's a political issue. 100% transition is a political thing. It has no basis, no background check, no planning. This weekend alone, we have had 5 big strikes, which I don't know why media is not talking about them. Bungoma boys went on strike because of congestion, because of poor food, because of no toilets. Kolanya girls, there's no water. CAS, Ababu Namwamba, had to go to that school himself to see how he can help the school get water. The girls go to the river at 3 a.m. in the morning to go 3 kilometers away from the school. All these things, State House girls are now learning in tents. You go to schools like Buruburu girls here in town, they are in corridors. I'm saying this, it's not just secondary school, it's not just basic. Magoha is now coming to fix, if he can, even university education. Our universities are in shambles. And I want to say this, without even mincing words. The problem in the education sector is that we chewed more than we could swallow. We took upon ourselves too much. We were running. I heard the minister, Amos Kimunya, once the other day asked about the new curriculum. He said, we can chew gum as we walk. You know, these are statements to show that we tried to take too much than we could really accommodate. And CS, he is not yet by the vetted to take the position of the CS. Yes. He'll have to face my friend Sosion in parliament before he's really accepted as being the CS. But Kenyans have high hope in Magoha because he has delivered, as my brothers put it, he delivered at the University of Nairobi. 10 years, no strike at the University of Nairobi. Sure. And he managed, even the tower that we are seeing at the University of Nairobi came during his tenure. Now, we also now talk about also the exams. We saw him militarize the exams. The man he's a
hands-on guy.
No, as in the union, we seem to think he's a bully. He bullies, he wants his way taken, and he'll find us also there. We are also not people, we are not pushovers. He'll get to know what the education sector is all about. Education sector is not a university, neither is it NEC. Education sector is bigger than NEC, is bigger than a university.
Is this a form of resistance? Because already before he takes even the mandate, there's some sort of resistance.
Well, it's important for Amunga as a unionist to always have a tough stance against the powers that be. And then also, Kenyans, I think, are too used to democracy. Let's be clear that the whole point of a democracy is we have a succession of dictators. That's how it should be. Part of the problem we have with Uhuru Kenyatta is because we feel like he's not dictated enough to his cabinet. So the clarity is democracy came into existence so that we choose the dictator we want, and then we give him the leeway to dictate where the country goes for 5 years. And if we don't like what he's done, then we can change. So let's be clear that Magoha is being given the mandate to dictate where the education policy will go. And usually we need to give people latitude to do their work. Because there's this idea in Kenya now that you need as many cooks as possible to make a broth. But we know too many cooks spoil the broth.
Okay.
But the education sector is indeed in dire straits. It is in need, weirdly enough, of the same bully that he's trying to run away from. You need someone who can sit down and say, you know what, we're going to push through 100% transition. Why do we need to push that through? Because we need to give every Kenyan the chance to a secondary education. We need to give every Kenyan the opportunity to study and thereby better their lives. That is important. So whether it is done under tents for the meanwhile, whether it is done under very painful conditions, it's got to happen. Let's solve those problems. Let's solve the problems of water. Let's solve the problems of sanitation. Let's solve the problems of space. And you need someone who is a reformer. You need someone who's a performer to be able to do that. And what I would advise Amunga and his ilk in KNUT and Kupet and all those other things, do not go into the negotiating table ready to fight. You know, Ken Waliboro Aliaula said, yes, he said, mtu akatai wito akatai itwalo. So you don't know what the guy is going to do yet. So you cannot refuse and say that you're going to be opposed. And sometimes you need someone who's able to push through very painful things, because the truth is our education sector is in need of a very serious reality check. Let's be clear. There's John Oliver did a brilliant piece this weekend about the mechanization and automation of jobs, that nearly, depending on studies, 30 to 50% of jobs in the United States of America will be automated and will be declared redundant in a very short time. Literally, we need to prepare for a future that is uncertain. The question that we need to ask our education industry is, how are you going to produce a Kenyan who can enter a job market that is currently and consistently and in future will be in consistent flux?
Yes. Your last sentiments actually.
Yes, Magoha needs to come into the education ministry as an advisor. He needs to come in to learn the ropes. He needs to come and learn from us for two reasons. One, Magoha is a medical doctor. He's not an educationist. He may have been a chancellor in the university, but he's not an educationist. He needs to come in and sit down and we teach him how to run the education ministry. We are the ones to teach him.
Because you're out of time.
And we have to say this clearly to this country. We must train Magoha how to run the Ministry of Education. We don't want a person like Matiang'i who came in and brought in Matiang'i rules, Matiang'i and messed us to the bone. We want a person who will teach the ropes so that he can bring this country's education sector to the best we need.
Thank you very much, Banamunga. And I know Mark Bichichi had so much to tell you because he was laughing, but because of time, unfortunately, the platform...
Give me 10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Let me tell you, you cannot say that the people who have been in an industry for so long and supervised its failure are the best persons to teach the reformer. This is like saying that Jesus should have sat with the Pharisees to be taught how to save the world. That's what you're trying to suggest.
The problem
10 seconds are over, actually. You're not taking a short break. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. Of course, have yourself a brilliant day. Unionist, I understand. There's so much resistance, but let's hope he'll do the best he can. We're taking a short break now. When we come back, continue with a different conversation right here Morning Live, so don't go too far. Welcome back to Morning Live, and right now I want to shift focus to Tanzania. Last week, it revoked licenses from some exchange bureaus in the commercial capital Dar es Salaam, a day after the government banned the newspaper for using unofficial data on exchange rates. The move comes as the shilling is down 0.34% from the beginning of the year. It was the latest incident in a series of restrictions muzzling the media. It's unclear if the two events are related. The shilling's depreciation will make it more difficult to service Tanzanians' external debt, which stood at 21 billion in December. Bwana Bichachi is still in the studio taking us through this. Tanzania, is there some issue, or maybe an issue, some issues, or maybe an issue just regarding the shilling in Tanzania? Of course, it's one of the weakest in the region, but still, when you're trying to gag even forex bureaus in the name of maybe some are even involved in money laundering and all those things, what does that mean?
Well, you need to understand this issue. You need to step back a bit and look at the history of Tanzania. Tanzania was a socialist state. And as a socialist state, its currency rules remained quite a bit socialist. For example, it is still illegal to carry out Tanzanian shillings out of the country. Let's start there. So when you understand that, you then have to put in the presidency of John Pombe Magufuli. The presidency of John Pombe Magufuli is slowly becoming more dictatorial than it is democratic. And then when you put that into perspective, you've got to look at the various bands, not only in music, in media houses. One of my partner stations, Clouds TV, was shut down during this time. And it was shut down, yet it was only an entertainment station. So you can imagine how sensitive Magufuli is towards media. Number 4
actually, before even you touch on that, we've tried to reach so many Tanzanian analysts to comment on this issue, comment on this issue about the shilling and all those issues in Tanzania. But trust me, even Kenyans living in Tanzania, they can't even comment about it. Why is that?
No, because John Pombe Magufuli, what he's done is he's turned Tanzania into a dictatorship. That is just what is happening. And if we don't open our eyes and smell the coffee, we will wake up to a fully police-stated Tanzania. And that's what is going on.
Switch TV is now in Tanzania also. They're watching right now, and you see, once someone tells you, "Ata nyinyi mtafukuzwa huku, chungeni sana bana."
No, but that's the truth. They're not lying to you.
I was trying just to reach one of them.
They're not lying to you. I've had the chance of meeting the Minister of Broadcast when I was there in early December. And the truth is that they are very serious about curtailing the freedom of press, the freedom of expression. And that's why the dictatorship that is happening there, it's not sifting back into the rest of Africa because there's such a tight gag on things. If you ask yourself, any country that has more than 5 political prisoners, what is that? If you have a country where there's a leader of the opposition who had to run away for surgery because his body was riddled with bullets, what is happening down there? Now, for a dictatorship to be successful, you need to control 2 things. You need to control the money and you need to control the media. So the media part is being controlled, but the money part is also important, because let's be clear that whereas the money markets are driven by certain factors of the economy, they're also driven by sentiment. And part of the problem of the sentiment, if you ask yourself how many mines have been shut down that used to mine Tanzanite, how much foreign investment has been taken away, how much the Tanzanian economy has been squeezed ever since John Pombe Magufuli came in, then you know that definitely the Tanzania shilling should be falling. There is no way on God's green earth that you're busy shutting down industries. One friend of mine had to shut down a mine. 300 employees are at home today, equipment rotting in the field. So you cannot make such moves and expect that doesn't work. But the PR machinery behind such states has to keep grinding. So these stories are not being told. So what happens is anyone who will blow the whistle on the missteps of the John Pombe Magufuli government will have to suffer the brunt.
His theme was hapa kazi tu, hapa kazi tu. And as we are seeing right now, ni kazi kweli. And you see, the job he's mandated to do is actually to run the country in so many ways. Right now, he's actually now resurrecting this aviation industry. Air Tanzania is coming in. He's got a Dreamliner, A330, that's an Airbus coming in. Economically, do you think maybe they're kind of going somewhere? Already with the 2 new planes, that's on the aviation part, he's doing something. And trust me, there's a problem. Whenever that plane goes, the president has to approve it. That's a problem also. Approval or where this plane is actually going. He can even hire that plane to some private entities. What is happening to Tanzania?
Tanzania, like I told you, you've just described how a dictatorship works. That a state acquires an asset, instead of it being used in a commercially viable way, it is used by a politician to wield power and influence over his people. And you see, we need to be very careful. and I hope those who are listening to me will understand what I'm saying. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and the road to dictatorship is always paved with good speeches and a promise of utopia. And when that promise of utopia comes with the trade-off for your freedoms, then you realize that you're being robbed. What Tanzanians were done is they were given a cookie of the rapid transport system in Dar es Salaam. They were given a cookie of the fight against corruption, in quotes, the same fight that today has had many opposition leaders jailed. Because and jailed without trial, by the way, and jailed without a date for hearing, and held without a limit, simply because they said something against the government of John Pombe Magufuli. So what is happening here is not an economic turnaround. If you want to talk economic turnaround, let's talk about Rwanda. But in Tanzania, there is no economic turnaround. Listen, I own a company in Tanzania, so believe me when I tell you that business is not good in Tanzania.
And even work permits for Kenyans has also been a problem over there. And I'm told some sources even in Tanzania say that even foreigners have followed up to the house.
Yes. Yes.
Work permit yako iko wapi bana?
Yes.
You need to go back home. In fact, Kenyans are very frustrated.
In fact, Kenyan big corporations such as KCB, which operates in Tanzania, have had it very difficult to secure what do you call them, work permits for their staff who are Kenyans, by the way. And remember, we've got the East African Community, and with that treaty, freedom of goods and services, of the movement of goods and services, and labor being one of them. But you remember how many times they've caught our chicken and our bulls and destroyed them. So there's something definitely wrong there. But it's not just a matter of work permit. The economy, Tanzania is an interesting country, again, because of the history of socialism. What happened is Tanzanians are not as hardworking as Kenyans. And I'm not saying that as stereotyping. I'm saying that as a matter of fact, because we know that factors of production are different in different countries. For example, the Greeks work less hard than the Germans. This is just how it is. So it's not a derogatory way of putting things. Therefore, even when you get a trained Tanzanian and a trained Kenyan, you are better off hiring a trained Kenyan. Now, of course, that has been a battle that we've had for a very long time. But you see, at the end of the day, to whose detriment is it? I remember when I was setting up my company in Tanzania, we would go into a meeting and 70% of corporate leaders were Kenyans, which is how it is. But I'm not saying that is how it should be. But before you kick out these 70% Kenyans, you better have a plan of how you're going to raise up Tanzanians, which is their right to do, to raise up Tanzanians who can meet that level.
Let's hope maybe sanity will come soon, because now the relations, you know, EAC has been advocating for all these things.
My brother, there's no sanity coming soon. Let me give you a prophecy for free. Okay, I will not charge. Number one,
consultants.
Number one, Chadema. Which used to be the leading opposition party, is in shambles. Okay, its financing has been cut, its leaders are in jail today, and any person who speaks against Magufuli, that's it.
We're seeing even the last Akina Lowassa going back to CCM again.
There you go. So CCM is stronger than ever. Magufuli is tightening his grip on power. He will win the next election with 80%.
Interesting. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mark, for coming to the studio. And Tanzania, as it is, we at Switch TV enjoy channel 268. We'll keep on talking about all these things. Trust me, it won't be done anytime soon. But for the fear, we understand where they are. They're allowed to fear, because now it's unfortunate, actually. But still, in Kenya, we'll actually be talking about those predicaments affecting Tanzanians. We're now taking a short break, but when we come back, we want to talk about gun control in this country. Licenses were revoked, and trust me, it didn't go down well with some people. All that after a short break.